All right, everybody. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story. By the way, my name is Carrie, for those of you who don't know. But we're going to go into a little bit of a story that I found super interesting. And I've done a little background research on this one. It is a true story. And it really intrigued me quite a bit on some of the different ways the story's been told, so to speak, and some of the differences in it, which I'll go through in the end. But basically, it starts out with a whole bunch of people being kept prisoner, kind of like slaves. So they were all forced to basically be slaves. This, of course, was a very, very long time ago. Okay, this isn't anything current modern day, but they were being held as prisoners against their will and to do whatever these people wanted. A little different than what we might think a prisoner of war would be because they had so many people. So it was kind of like if you're in an Arab country, we'll use this as an example, and you took a whole tribe of people and you capture those people. And okay, another way to think about it is think way back in the days of kings and queens in like England and those types of times, or during the Viking times, where they would go in and they would raid and plunder places, but they would capture people and keep them as slaves or sell them off as slaves, things like that. Well, that's what they did. They took this entire like tribe of people and they captured the ones that survived, were captured and kept as prisoners, but used as slaves. I don't know if I didn't get any details on whether any of them were sold, but basically they were there to do the work for new people and believe in their ways and what have you, what you would do with a slave or a prisoner. They had no rights, no, anything of their own. But there was one older guy, and he was kind of, I guess, planted in with these people and ended up, well, basically, he was from another tribe, so to speak. It's probably the best way to put it. And ended up with this other tribe of people and realized that many moons ago, before he was taken, he was actually one of these other a member of one of these other tribes. So, I mean, that's how much people were bought and sold and transferred around, back in the day, that he was actually a native to this other tribe of people that had just been taken in. And they were there for years. I mean, I'm skipping quite a bit because for years they were kept prisoner. And this guy was older, who was much younger when he was taken in to this, main tribe. But when he was older, he realized he was part of this new tribe that was there. And when he realized that, he decided, let's escape. He wanted his freedom. He wanted them to have their freedom. So much had happened in the course of time for him. And he was very lucky because he was one of these from the previous tribe where he had a position, so to speak. And then, realized that the people, the new tribe that was there, but they had been there for many, many years, probably decades, before he realized he was actually part of that tribe. And so he did have a position of power over them at that point, because even with these tribes being slaves, some of them could earn positions, but he was kind of adopted in to this position. So he had the power over them where he could help them escape to freedom. I mean, keep in mind, though, it's a lot of people, hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so then he was going to help them escape. He does get them out. However, they don't have any place to go. There's no real land, so they walk and walk and walk forever trying to find a place to kind of plant their seed or have their space, so to speak. And they run out of food, they run out of water. This guy becomes this ultimate leader, and he does help them get these things that they need to survive. But they're hot, they're cold, they're constantly complaining. A lot of them are like, we were better off as slaves, because all of a sudden they had this freedom, but they had no place to go. And they only had limited food. They had limited water. They didn't have heating systems. You gotta realize they're walking out in the wilderness. Okay, everything was complete wilderness, and this happened overseas. By the way, this wasn't in the United States. Um, but the people kind of revolted. And I said, "You you helped us escape, and you got us out of there, but you took us out in the middle of nowhere, and we're all gonna die out here. We at least had a chance at life being slaves, so we're kind of upset, and so they revolted against him. Um, During the revolt, they still kept walking though, and they walked and walked and walked for days, still looking for to build a civilization somewhere. And then they came along this as they were walking, they came along, I don't know, like snake pits or where these snakes actually came from. But they came across a lot of snakes, and the snakes would bite them. Now I can't tell you what kind of snake they were, if they were rattlesnakes or what, but they were clearly venomous because the snakes would bite and the people would get sick and they die. So all of a sudden people are dying like crazy. No, right after they say, well, we're all going to die out here in the wilderness now. We're better off slaves. Then they start getting bit by these snakes and dying. It's like, okay, well, you probably brought a curse upon yourself. You should have just been grateful you weren't a slave anymore, I guess. But I don't know. That's my 2 cents worth added in. But anyway, um, then the leader, got this message to build this bronze serpent. So what they did is they took a pole or a staff, a staff back in the day, um, and they built this bronze serpent snake that they made to wrap around this pole. And then when the people that would get bit would look at it, they'd be healed. And sure enough, it worked. They were healed from this bronze serpent snake on this pole. Um, that was the cure. All they had to do was, believe this was going to save their life, and it did. So it's the bronze serpent, that actually saved all of these people from dying of snake bites. And then the story goes on from there, but I'm going to stop it there and take you to what the reality of the story. And I'll explain the people to you. The old man who saved the slaves was Moses, and he led the people in Exodus. So if you go to the Bible and you read the chapter of Exodus, you'll discover Moses was supposed to be killed as a child, based on the Egyptian kings. Say the Egyptian kings knew that there was going to be somebody that was going to lead those slaves all to freedom and be the leader of those people. So they killed all these boys, these firstborn boys, I believe it was, in order to kill this boy who was supposed to grow up to be this leader. And of course, Moses was the one, but his mother put him in a basket, put him out in the water in the Nile, and he drifted to one of the, if I'm not mistaken, it's the king's daughter or sister. I guess it might have been his sister. And she was able to, they had wet nurses and stuff, and she took this child in from the water and raised it. And so Moses, who should have been a slave with all the rest of the slaves, was actually raised in the palace. And he was given special privileges and as one of the king's sons. And if you know King Ramses, which some people know was Moses' brother by adoption, and then they found out that Moses was the young boy with the special powers from God that was going to free all the people, the Israelites. So you can try to ruin God's plan all you want by killing hundreds of boys, but you weren't going to. God knew. And he saved Moses and even put Moses in the most protected place possible. And so Moses knew the kings and stuff. So when he was fighting against them for their freedom, he already knew these people. And there was some kind of compassion and some kind of sympathy because there was a connection there. Moses wasn't the leader of the Israelites, wasn't just a normal Israelite to them. He was a family member. So, that the whole story, and if you watch the Ten Commandments, That's where a lot of people probably haven't read the Bible, but they've watched the Ten Commandments. Moses, does go up to the mountain. He gets the Ten Commandments for the people, and then that's where we start having rules and stuff to follow because people weren't listening to God. So then he had to give specific rules. But when the people got angry about being out in the wilderness, they were angry at God. Yeah, they blamed Moses in a way, but they were really angry at God because they felt God was not providing for them. And why did he put them out in that place when they were safe as slaves? So they revolted against God. They got bit by snakes and died. That's kind of in the Old Testament. If you were angry at God, it was usually a death sentence. It was, yeah, whatever, get rid of you. I knew you were going to do that. And God in the Old Testament prior to Christ had a lot of wrath, and he would take out tribes of people. He would just get rid of people because he would see anyone who knows about Sodom and Gomorrah. He saw people doing immoral acts. Get rid of all of them. I'm not going to have any of them even remembering the stuff that they did and thinking it was okay, and then breed that into another tribe of people. Okay, everyone was a bad seed at that point. It didn't even matter if you didn't participate. You were there, you're done, unless you were Lot, and you'd have to go read Sodom and Gomorrah and find out how they escaped, but yet some were turned into pillars of salt even in the escape process. But I'll let you go read Sodom and Gomorrah for that. There's a movie on that too. It's just really, really old, but very, very interesting. But basically, there's, when I started looking at this story from the biblical perspective of the bronze serpent, what I thought of immediately was the serpent that they use for medical. Have you ever seen the Medical Association? I think it's their, they have a logo that actually shows a serpent or a snake. Sometimes I think it's two snakes or whatever wrapped around each other. Granted, in the Bible, it's pretty much only listed as one snake. But then I got thinking about that. I thought, okay, the medical symbol could really come from a really old biblical way of healing because the bronze serpent was the cure. Now, if we're talking about a cure for something, why would we use a snake to represent medical stuff? Snakes usually cause pain and injury, and most are venomous. I shouldn't say most. I don't know all the details. I'm not a big animal expert or anything, so I shouldn't say that. But as far as I think, when I think of a snake, a lot of times I'm thinking, is it poisonous? And if it's not poisonous, is it got the strength to, cut off your circulation? You're thinking next worst case scenario, right? What could the snake do? Granted, I usually only see like grass snakes and stuff, and I'm not scared of snakes. I'll hold snakes and whatever, as long as they're devenomized. I really don't want to get bit by any snakes. But then as I looked, and I know because of my previous witchcraft days a lot about like Greek mythology, and I did remember studying this in my Greek mythology and the gods and goddesses, about Hermes. And the snake was a sign of Hermes' staff. Back in the Greek days, actually had a snake on it. He was known as the messenger, but that was also their medical symbol that they used. And it was used as the god of healing and medicine. So I'm like, okay, so we can get a piece from the Greek mythology, and with the Bible. So clearly the Greeks, did, follow some of that. There was also, if you look at Hippocrates, I don't know exactly how to say it, and I know I'll say it wrong. Somebody can correct me, whatever. But they had a healing temple, and he was the father of medicine, and it was on the Greek island of Kos. So clearly back in the Greek times, this was also something, that was there, but granted that these Greek times are well after Moses. So Moses was the first example of a serpent on a staff that was used. They also used non-venomous snakes were used for healing in the Greek culture. And then they also used snake venom as therapy, which a lot of times, if you do any research on that as well, if you get bit by a snake and they inject a certain type of venom, into your body, it can actually heal the poisons from the other snake bite. Now, I don't know if it's the same type of venom that was injected, or if it's a different kind of venom that acts, against it. But anyway, I mean, I'll have to do much more research on that. But there is snake venom that they can actually put into your body to actually heal you, as different types of therapy, and they still do it today. So that I thought was very interesting. So it's unknown when the symbol was actually added as a medical thing, but I was able to track it back to the Greeks. I'm able to track it back to numbers in the Bible. So if you want to read where that actually comes from, yes, the Exodus is there, but read in Numbers, the chapter Numbers. And I'm just going to read you a small section from Numbers where they actually notate it. And this is Numbers chapter 21, verses 6 through 9. They say, "Then the Lord sent venomous snakes among them. They bit the people, and many Israelites died." Now keep in mind, this was after they revolted. The people came to Moses and said, "We have sinned against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take the snakes away from us." Yeah, I probably would have been saying that too. So Moses prayed for the people. The Lord said to Moses, "Make a snake and put it on a pole. Anyone who is bitten can look at it and live." So Moses made a bronze snake and put it on a pole. And when anyone was bitten by a snake and looked at the bronze snake, they lived. So, another, reason why they could be using that as a medical symbol, it could definitely be from the Bible, stating, okay, here's the symbol when you're sick and you're weary and you need, medical attention. You can find this symbol, look upon it, and we will try to heal you. So it's a beautiful thing that, I've studied, all the Greek stuff, and I see where the Greeks would have used it, but I think they got it from the Bible. Okay, I mean, they can, all the Greek gods and stuff like that. I'm very, very familiar with, and I love their stories and stuff. There's no doubt about it, the Greek mythology. But I do think the Greeks got it from way back in the biblical time, and I think that is God's way of saying, come to this snake and this, do not be afraid of the snake. Come to this symbol and you'll be healed. And so hospitals and organizations like that will use this symbol as still to this day as a way to bring people to a place of healing. And I think it's kind of cool because I personally think that it came from the Bible. You can think whatever you want, believe whatever you want. I'm not saying you have to believe what I do, but I thought it was a really cool story, and how way back, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, this symbol was created, and we still use it today and look at it as a way of hope. That there was always hope. Life wasn't over. There was something that could heal you, or at least try. And I think it's terrific that that still exists. So I would love to know your ideas and opinions, and if anybody has any more, historical concepts on where this could have come from, I'd love to hear them. It'd be great to have a conversation about it. I just thought it was really cool to be able to take something from the Bible and try to put it into modern day, where that could have come from. And the Bronze Serpent is my story of choice. So have a great day. Be kind, be good. And just like the Bronze Serpent, help heal. Okay? You can.